Welcome to Happily Ever Aftermath,
the podcast where we discuss relationships in movies and our relationships with them.
I'm Polina Grunbaum.
And I'm Diana Rojek-Skonard.
Hello, Diana.
Hey, Polina.
How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Great.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about Tootsie, and we have to get two things out of the way first.
Yep.
I think number one is that we had some technical difficulties.
You're going to hear us working with a kind of a makeshift recording situation.
Yeah.
But because the microphones are different, you're going to hear every scratch, every, shuffle.
We had a mic meltdown. We don't know if it's Michelle or Michael, but one of them.
You mean Dorothy or Michael?
Dorothy. I was going to say the mics.
Mics? No,
Mics.
I got that.
Yeah.
Name it Dorothy.
Yeah. So and of course we're recording in San Francisco in July, which means that there's gale force winds, which are still blow through my very badly insulated apartment. So anyway, that'll be fun. The other thing I want to get out of the way is when I picked this movie, and mostly because it was made a big impression on me when I was younger, which is the point of this podcast. And it was before, and it features Dustin Hoffman in the lead role. And I was not that aware of his sexual assault allegations against him, and I purposefully kind of didn't look them up until after I rewatched this movie. And I kind of, in going back and forth, I sort of made a conscious choice to not to sort of put them aside right now for the purposes of this conversation. Otherwise, it would be a different conversation.
Yeah. Or even, 3 different conversations, because I could chime in with the whole, can you separate art from the artist conversation?
Yeah. And how that plays into being an actor rather than being either a playwright or someone who does your own work or an actor.
Yeah.
A comedian. So I think we're just going to put that aside, and because there's a lot to talk about here. And again, the purpose of this movie. There's a lot to talk about with just the movie, even if you take those out. So anyway, feel free to chime in on whatever you think about that approach on Twitter or Facebook. HEAMCast, HEAMCAST.
And on Facebook at Happily Ever Aftermath.
Yeah.
And then contact at HEAMCast.com.
Yeah, if
for
you'd
your
like to
long
just privately,
thoughts.
if you want. You can always put long-form thoughts on Facebook, but if you just want to keep it a little private, we're here for you, because this stuff messes with our heads too. If it messes with yours. So that all being said,
yes,
I'd like to welcome you to 1982, a time when Dabney Coleman is a sex symbol. White wine doesn't lead to weight loss, and no action, no matter how critical or important to you, is accompanied by a jaunty soundtrack, which my husband and I have now taken to having it be the soundtrack to every single thing we do. Or go Tootsie go. I'll tell you, since it's my movie, I'll start with my experiences with this movie, which I saw it in the theater.
Oh, was that your full-on plot synopsis right there?
Oh, damn, I didn't even get to the plot synopsis. And I'm cursing.
Wait, hang on. Use mine. It's okay.
No, I got it. I'm good. I got it.
She moves fast.
New York actor Michael... My iPad. Thank you, Apple. We're not sponsored by Apple. New York actor Michael Dorsey, Dustin Hoffman, is a talented perfectionist who is so hard on himself and others that his agent, Syndey Pollack, can no longer find work for him. After a soap opera audition goes poorly, Michael reinvents himself as actress Dorothy Michaels and wins the part. What was supposed to be a short-lived role turns into a long-term contract. But when Michael fails for his castmate Julie, played by Jessica Lange, who won an Academy Award as a supporting actress for this part. Complications develop, kind of an understatement, complications develop that could wreck everything. So, my relationship with this movie
very light
is I saw it in the theater with my parents. So it came out in 1982. And I saw it, I think I probably saw it like way later because, you know, my parents were cheap and probably went to like second round of movies. But, you know, I was probably really young. I was like probably 11 or something, or 10 or 11 when I saw it. And then it just kind of either was on, or I think we even had a copy, or we would rent it to rewatch.
Okay.
Like,
there was rewatching then.
there was a ton of rewatching. I've seen this movie a lot. And actually, every time I've seen it, it works. But I was really into it when I was a teenager. I think part of it was that I still stand by that. I still really like this movie. Mm-hmm. And I just want to say that it's, we did Sabrina, which is a Syndey Pollack movie.
Yes.
And this is also a Syndey Pollack movie.
Yes.
I'm stealing this a little bit from my husband, Sean. He said, and he's right, he's like, oh, this is what Sabrina was going for. It was like a movie that can work on the level of kind of like silly out there fairy tale and kind of quote unquote fun, light.
They didn't get that memo on the Sabrina set.
They never, but also kind of actually tries in setting up situations to kind of to sort of talk about issues of like
bigger
kind
importance.
Of larger importance and people's motivations. This movie makes more emotional sense for me than Sabrina, which is not to. But so I think maybe, and I've been wanting to do this movie, and so it seemed like the right time, maybe because I
that's
wanted
great.
to redeem Syndey Pollack.
No, that's great because it's never come up in our conversation, and we have like kind of a few lists somewhere with the things.
Have like random.
And I don't remember Tootsie ever being on it, but that's very possible that you have your own Excel spreadsheet just lying around that you never told me about.
Evernote.
Oh, okay. I was about to say Polina brain.
Could be, but my brain, it was clearly not Excel spreadsheet. It's more like a box of pickup sticks.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, but it's in the box though, so that's
yeah. So it's in a box. The pickup sticks are in a box. I think so. I was trying to figure out because I was kind of. This is one of those, when you like. I don't know if you've experienced this, but when you pick a movie, and then it's only then that you really think through like what implication it had in your life. Like, when did I watch this? I think I experienced this more than you do.
I was about to say, are you asking me or are you asking the listeners? Because that's pretty.
Or maybe myself. I'm interviewing myself.
That's pretty heavy. Like, so listeners, you're at the Red Box. You pick a movie. What are the implications behind watching Jurassic World?
Yeah. See, in my family, there was a lot of implications. It was a big deal.
My implication is, will I be able to see this in time to make sure that I'm not charged for a second day?
Mm-hmm. That's a good implication.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, God, this movie came out, like, when I look at the evidence, this movie came out, I was still a kid when I saw it. So why was it...
The math checks out.
The math checks out, but I was like, but then... I clearly had a lot of thoughts about this movie, and I remember a lot of it. So I'm like, why did I rewatch it when I was a teenager?
Excellent questions.
So let me
go
tell
on.
you. So
keep interviewing yourself.
So Polina, yes, Polina. I think a lot of it is that I think I've mentioned this in the podcast before that I wanted to, and actually did, like, work in theater. I wanted to, be first I wanted to be kind of an actress, but that actually faded away pretty quickly. But I wanted to be a director. I ended up being a stage manager and a theater tech, but, and then eventually not doing any of those. So to me, I think what was kind of great about this is what made me rewatch it, and I realized I watched it with friends who were in kind of the same mess or did the same thing or in that world, is it was kind of a fantasy of like, oh yeah, this is a movie about actors in New York.
Yes.
Like being like and living, this sort of actor lifestyle. So in that way, it was really fun for us because it was like, other than the and it had a lot of little scenes that, like, they had a lot of excuse me, acting acting class scenes.
I really liked the fact that, okay, so from the beginning, I knew that Dustin Hoffman was going to be like a very hard-nosed character. And, but one of the things that I absolutely liked about his character in the beginning was talking about how when you're an actor, there will be, you will face so much rejection, but you need to work. And it could be a waiter, you could be doing this, you could be doing that. You need to pay your bills and you need to act. So I really like that.
He is a real struggling actor. Like their apartment isn't amazing, and it's not, he is talking about like how he really needs to work.
And you see this sequence of rejections, and then even when he does get a part, he finds himself, as he's such a perfectionist that he walks off a set because the director is telling him, oh, you're dying, but you need to be in the middle of the stage as you're giving your monologue as you're dying. He's like, I'm on my deathbed and you want me to stand up and stand in the middle of the theater.
Yeah.
And then he leaves.
You know what's really actually great about that scene is when I saw it originally, when I was totally like, of course I'm going to be, oh, the cruel world is going to, is going to try to get me down, but I'm an artist.
Was it about the craft?
It was about the craft.
Okay.
It was always about the craft for me. But when I re-saw it, I was like...
Hang on, I need to write that down. We need to watch the movie The Craft. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's write that down on that list.
Okay.
Not on the pickup sticks, though. But actually, as like rewatch, I was like, oh, but yeah, first off, the director didn't do his job because he should have blocked it so that he was already in the middle of the set when he...
was that part in the scene?
Yeah, he should have been there. Like, that's where he should have died so that other people can see it if it's a big thing. Because that is a big problem.
Why is any part of the scene where half the audience can't see?
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, and then I was also like, well, of course, like, you either have to re-block that scene or, you can't, if it's pivotal that he dies, you can't have it be off stage. Anyway, the other thing about watching, because I was a little nervous just to rewatch this movie because I thought, oh God, it's not going to age well, which it doesn't quite, like you do have to take into account, but there's things that when you re-see these movies that get you every time, and I was totally shocked by them. So one, I did love that love story, like that it was these two people that kind of got to know each other's like real people and not like the way they were with like trying to impress each other, which is weirdly how I saw it when I was a teenager. Okay. But the other thing that I just want to say this, I don't want to forget about this, even though it's a little embarrassing. That's the minute that song came on.
Which one?
The theme song, Something's Telling Me It Might Be You. It's the cheesiest song, but every time I heard it, it was like being like a 14-year-old girl, like, wishing for romance and not having, and just like that total wistful, like perfect thing. I replayed that. I loved that song so much. My mom and I were really into it, and every time it came on, we would like sing along the car. Like, I don't know, that song, it's a terrible song. I'm the first person to admit it. It's kind of forgettable, but it's just like something about it is like, just put me in that instant like teenager love place, which is kind of like, I always, when you're rewatching a movie and trying to think about myself as a kid, I'm always trying to get there, and then just my, whatever, being an adult is kind of keeping me from getting there, because I'm like, well, what? The like other, like when we're watching Much Ado About Nothing, like to you, it was the younger characters were like the ones that were so interesting, and then and then when you rewatch it, you're like, whatever. You realize they're barely even in it, that the real interesting characters are, Beatrice and I forget the other.
I'm not going to condemn you for liking a cheesy song.
Because of your to stand on.
Because of your association to it. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this last episode, but as someone who was blasting I Had the Time of My Life, and of course imagining a lift in the middle of the pivotal scene. Sometimes you do these little things and you find yourself, really getting into it to shake off a bad day, or, just reminiscing about certain things.
But then I'm like, why as a teenager, like, did I love this song, which is basically about being really, really, really sad for most of your life, and then at some point finding, like, the love of your, like, happiness, like, later? Like, I was such a moody, weird teenager.
It doesn't matter what the song is about. This is about Michael, Dorothy, Julie.
Michael, Dorothy, Julie.
Michael, Dorothy, Julie.
It's a very strange love triangle. Yeah. No, but, like, I remember thinking about, and, like, all of those words.
Sure.
Like, not like, oh, it's just a love song. I was literally like, when I heard it, when I was even a kid, I was like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, weird, this is a song about sad people later. It was like, this is a song about, this is what it's going to be like for me. Like, I'm going to be sad, and then I'm going to find someone. Like, that was kind of what I was going for. It's very strange. Anyway, so now that we've unwrapped that part of my psyche, I would like, now we can talk about
my psyche?
Lots of
psyche?
Your psyche.
Oh, okay.
It's your psyche. Your psyche's turn.
Well, this was always one of those movies. I confused myself. I thought Dustin Hoffman won one of his Oscars for this movie. Incorrect. In fact,
he was nominated.
He was definitely, yes, he was nominated. And interestingly, Charles Durning, that plays Julie's father, was also nominated for an Academy Award, but not for this movie this year. So I thought that was kind of, when I was flipping through the nominations and stuff like that. And I'm like, interesting. I could have sworn
Charles Durning is so good in this.
It's like, I'm surprised that Tootsie didn't win more. And I was surprised.
It was a huge box office. It was like the second grossing. It was in like the second. Yeah. Well, box office then. Yeah. Like it was.
Well, okay.
It was the second most successful movie of that year.
Okay. Oh, no. I'm just saying, which was box office and what wins Academy Awards isn't always.
Yeah, no. But I know. I'm just saying this was an extremely successful movie that everybody saw.
Well, I was confusing my knowledge because as I get older, my little bits of trivia are slowly fading, and I'm like, Jessica Lange won for this movie? Wait, that doesn't make any sense. I thought she won for Blue Sky. Oh, that's right. You can win multiple awards. Oopsie. So, but my Jessica Lange experience.
I think I also wanted to be Jessica Lange.
You wanted to be Jessica Lange?
I'm human.
Well, that's the other thing is that
she's
Ryan got me into American Horror Story. And so just watching all of this, I'm just like,
oh, that's like
Jessica Lange, Angela Bassett, Kathy Bates. All of these women need to be in more things always.
Always.
Yes.
Always. And I think also in the, what did I think when I was younger thing is like, I was like, I sort of was already like, oh, well, Jessica Lange actually has it pretty good. Like maybe she's not.
Jessica Lange, the actress?
In the
Jessica Lange, Julie.
Jessica Lange, Julie. Nurse Julie. The hospital slut.
Oh, I can't believe that she called herself that. Yeah. But then again, it's okay because she called herself that.
But it was great. I mean, she's always like she can't. When he first meets her, she's very confident, which you realize is not quite true. She kind of knows what she's doing, and she makes a nice living.
Right, and
she has that beautiful apartment, which is what I really wanted.
With the nanny that she doesn't like.
Yeah, who's she scared of?
Yeah,
who is terrifying.
You shouldn't have a nanny that you're scared of.
No.
That's how you get messed up children.
Yeah. If you're scared of her, then imagine. If
you can afford a nanny, you can afford to get a nanny.
Get one that you're not afraid of.
The more you know. Disclaimer, I don't have a nanny.
I don't have children. I don't know how hard it is to hire a nanny.
It'd be so funny if I had a nanny and no children.
Just for Apollo.
Aww. Yeah.
Aww. Okay. Did you see this? So this was
I saw this.
When did you see this?
I was probably in my early 20s when I saw it for the first time. It's like Tootsie. It's a classic. It's in the pop culture lexicon.
It's like usually in the top 10 comedies of all time.
That's kind of behind. Let's say 100 because, Polina, there's a lot of comedies out there.
Yeah.
But also, to be fair,
every the official lists, like AFI, I think it's on.
I look at the official list and I'm just like,
yeah, I know, I do too. I'm not really into Academy Awards.
Hang on, I'm vocal frying right now.
I'm gonna try to vocal fry.
Yeah. And what was really interesting is that at the time, of my early 20s in my naive and yet to be eyes open to the world. All I could think of the whole
dark,
time.
bitter world.
Well, no, not even that. Just the whole thing. Like, it's like he's not that pretty. Is what I was thinking. Because in my dumb visual, it had to be. Well, you had to be really attractive. Yeah. And that was something that they were pushing in the movie as well. It's just like zoom in, not too far. Yeah. Yeah, that kind of thing. So it's kind of difficult.
1980. I just want to say, 1982. Dabney Coleman is a sex symbol.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that
out. Damn, like that one too. That blew my mind.
Please explain to me Dabney Coleman as a sex symbol.
I cannot.
No. I'm not asking you to explain it. I'm asking
because somebody needs to explain this to me.
What was he in that he was in a sex symbol? Because was it 9 to 5?
So he's basically just been a creepy boss for the whole time. And it may be that he was he's attractive enough and successful. Also, I mean, Dustin Hoffman was considered a sex symbol.
I was listening to a podcast today where they were talking about how Tom Cruise wasn't ever a sex symbol, and I'm thinking
Top Gun.
Well, no, I didn't even throw any examples out so much as just like
Cocktail.
It's funny because I heard that and I immediately thought,
oh my God, Tootsie works.
That makes no sense to me because if I remember correctly, I had legions of people in my life who thought of Tom Cruise as one of the sexiest men alive.
Tom Cruise is sex symbol full stop.
So you say,
I mean, I don't find him sexy anymore, but I mean, the fact that I even went through a period of finding him sexy is kind of amazing.
The fact that I remember thinking, well, I can't like Tom Cruise because everyone else.
That's exactly it. Yeah, no, he ticks
point.
There is no evidence for Tom Cruise never being a sex symbol. I'm sorry.
But the weird thing is that hearing these people talk about like blah blah blah, never a sex symbol. You saying Dabney Coleman was a sex symbol.
I don't know if Dabney Coleman was actually a sex symbol, but in this movie, he's considered a sex symbol.
Oh no, he's considered a beacon of power, Polina.
That's probably true.
That's different. See,
I just liked my jokes. That I think I'm too attached to my joke. Never become attached to your jokes.
Crap! I was thinking that it was true.
I don't know if it was true. I mean, but
there are many guys who are sex symbols, and it's just like what?
Yeah, it's to the eye of the older ladies. You get to like whoever you like.
There is entire SNL skits about that.
Yes, there are.
It's called "Why Is Benedict Cumberbatch Hot?" The game show. Please go see that. It's the best thing.
Oh, really?
It's on YouTube.
I was like, it's obvious. Sorry.
But not to the guy hosting.
Oh, that's hysterical.
I will show you to this.
Oh my God, we're going to have to. Okay, so we'll link to that in the show notes.
Yes.
I think, so I was a little, okay, so when you were 20, you were like, okay, he's not exactly like,
he wasn't very pretty.
When I was in 18, she was like, Dustin Hoffman. He was considered really sexy.
Okay.
This is also a time when Michael Jackson wasn't creepy.
Oh.
He was also kind of a sex symbol.
I'm trying to figure out like the actual sex symbols of the time period, like Robert Redford.
Me too. Robert Redford was definitely there. Clint Eastwood. They're just perennials.
Well, no, I hear that and I get confused.
Like at the height of their power. Now I'm having a hard time. We will get back to you. Please, people. Please lived through 1982 and could distinguish such things. Maybe that's what we should talk about on social media.
No, I definitely want to know who people considered sex symbols
in 1980s.
In the 1980s.
Early 1980s.
Oh, sure.
Let's be specific.
I mean, I'm sure we could Google this, but that's not as much fun.
That's so not fun.
It's not fun. Okay, what was my point? You got Julie, who's just kind of working her way through. She knows that this is not her path, but she knows this is what she wants to get, and she evolves with her relationship
with herself,
Dorothy,
and with women.
That she deserves better and she should fight for it because she watches Dorothy do it every day. I'm just like double checking like I'm saying that correctly, Dorothy, because I've been thinking a lot about the Golden Girls lately. And I'm like, Dorothy. It is Dorothy, right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I know.
But
we had that.
Golden Girls is also Dorothy.
Well, especially because Estelle Getty is in this movie.
That was the other thing. I'm like, holy crap, that really looks like Estelle Getty, but I could be wrong. It's just very young Estelle Getty.
It's very young Estelle Getty.
Great segue.
There's actually amazing, the character acting in this. I do want to get back because there's a bunch I want to say about this movie. But
well, if I may throw out there, Geena Davis.
Oh, so great.
Christine Ebersole in a very small role. And very, very important, my apologies, I don't have give me your iPad.
Yeah. Doris Belack.
No, I was looking at Lynne Thigpen. For my generation, she will just forever being known as the chief from Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do a shout out to Bill Murray. I'm not one of those, like, we were having this conversation off air. It's like, I'm not one of those everything Bill Murray does is genius things. But
that is literally what you said.
No, I said in this movie, he was such a genius
Everything
choice.
he did in this movie was...
he is such a genius choice. He was such a genius choice because he played this self-involved, like, there's this shtick of this guy who's just a total self-involved playwright, who everybody, like, kind of takes for granted as a genius. And a lot of the plot evolves, like, some of the plot evolves around getting money to do this one play. And he plays Michael / Dorothy's roommate. He is just a little schlubby, the perfect amount of schlubby. He is super charming, and you get exactly why kind of people. It doesn't seem ridiculous that there's a party scene where basically he's like espousing total BS.
Oh, right.
And all these people are standing around him, kind of like, you know, sitting there gazing and listening. And and you get exactly why, but you don't lose that what he's espousing is ridiculous. Like, it's just perfect. Like, he is great. He's great in this movie. And he's like the perfect level of friendship where he's sort of like a little distant. They're close, but they just have a nice rapport to each other. They're not like, you know, the thing is the Dustin Hoffman character is incredibly self-involved.
A little bit.
And he doesn't see that, like, his sort of drive and vision are, you know, kind of eating other people, including himself, up.
And his friend Sandy.
Yeah, and his friend Sandy. And
poor Sandy in this movie.
Oh my God. Yeah, I totally forgot about, like, honestly, I remember the bits I remember are like were basically that great scene where she gets caught she's been trapped in the bathroom for most of the party.
Oh.
And she goes, I can use this.
Yeah.
Like, and she's clearly freaked out.
Sure.
But she doesn't, you know, want to appear too emotional.
Right.
So anyway, but I've kind of forgot about the key, because her character is the reason their relationship is kind of, it gives you, it's a nice structure because it tells you, hey, he thinks, oh, I can just do this for a little while and it'll be fine. This is a genius thing. The genius thing is that I will play a woman all the time. It's my greatest acting role.
Yeah.
It's so far away from me. And I can do this, and I'm getting paid. Like, this is great. I can get $8,000 to
do my play.
Yeah, to do my play. To do the play.
To produce the play. It's actually Bill Murray's play, Jeff's play.
And it'll be great. But when she's involved, when she gets involved, it sort of strips bare the complications, whereas. And makes them very, very real, which is that he doesn't want to tell her. But he doesn't want to tell her for the most specious reasons.
Half and half, yeah. He doesn't want to hurt her feelings.
He doesn't want to hurt her feelings. And then he talks about how, oh, yeah, well, you know how she is. She, like, cried. They had one of the earlier scenes is him having a surprise birthday party. And he walks her home. And they're just very good friends. Like, you can just tell. So, one, he sleeps with her because he doesn't want to have this awkward conversation with her.
Yeah.
Not because...
And I'll say this, dickhead.
Dickhead, total dickhead. Not really because he wants to. They're friends. And
he's caught with his pants down, literally.
He's quite literally caught with his pants down. He wants to try on one of her outfits to see if it, like, looks good on him as Dorothy. And then instead of telling her, and at one point he justifies this by saying, well, you know, she cries after a party. And I just want to say that she is holding back tears as he's walking her home after a party in which she spent an hour of it terrified that because she's trapped in a bathroom.
Yeah.
And then her date leaves with somebody else.
Yeah.
And
he's berating her. Why didn't you have enough money to get a cab?
Yeah, and then he's berating her, and her life is a mess. Like, she's like, I'm freaked, I'm getting older, I don't know what I'm doing, and she's clearly debating, like, I want, so his whole, like, thing of, like, oh my God, well, she's too emotional is such BS, because...
And the movie calls him on it later.
And
really nice.
He calls himself on it later.
Well, that's what's kind of nice about it, is that it's just like, really? This is really happening right now? You're pushing for female rights, and then you're also, like, being the blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's exactly...
And then the movie decides to shine a light. I'm like, okay, good job, movie.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think I was kept being nervous that it wouldn't do that, and then I just kind of let go, and it did. Like, because he basically... So Dabney Coleman does this... thing.
Who is the ultimate underlying, villain.
He's the director, and he doesn't treat... That's why it's called Tootsie and not Dorothy, is because...
It's what he calls her.
He calls all the women...
Sweetheart.
Yeah, and she says, Michael is Michael. And I had, like... You had a thought... We were talking about this idea, and I had this too, of, like, why does it take a woman... So Tootsie, why does it take a woman?
Right. So in the course of all of this, Dustin Hoffman is looking at all of the crap that's happening in the scenes themselves. And he originally decides to work with it with the doctor. There's a doctor, the head doctor, I suppose, of the Southern General, I think it's called. The
Southern General.
Of the soap opera, although you're not supposed to call it that. And, of course, that actor kisses all of the actresses, and he's trying to get around it. And so in the scene, instead of Dustin Hoffman being kissed by this doctor, he decides to be the strong woman that smacks him and said, I will not be treated this way. And it's one of those situations where the director's just like, what are you doing? You cannot do this. And of course, in his old life, it's like, well, fuck you, I'm out of here. But in this one, it's just like, oh, well, I just saw this and I decided to run with it. It was your, your direction. He's just like, well, next time run it by me before you decided to stick to the pages. And so in every instance, he's unfortunately using the whole feminine, just like, oh, I just thought it would be a good idea. I'm sorry. And then just like, okay, we'll just kind of go with it because there's positive results to it. Yeah. And that's the ongoing thing with the movie itself. It's just like,
and then he kind of becomes this hero. Yeah. But you know what's weird is if you notice, so how he finds out about this part is because his friend, he helps her, Sandy.
Yep.
So Sandy, played by Terri Garr, she
trapped in the bathroom.
Trapped in the bathroom, cries after parties. She auditions for it, and he helps her. And the whole scene is the scene that he's reading. The sides that he has are about his are about the, like, this very scene where she goes, I'm a woman, I'm not just a woman, I'm a hospital administrator, and I demand to be, like, treated with respect. It's this whole thing. And so he sort of has this place to start.
Right.
And I think also he
also attends with her because he needs her to keep her fire.
Yeah.
And so as they're going, she's like, okay, wish me luck. He goes, fuck you.
Yeah. It's actually like...
she's like, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I love you. And...
But the point you were trying to say is that it's seeing this example of a strong, independent woman, and of course the layers behind it, where I had your voice in my head because I knew this was going to happen, but the whole time I was thinking, Diana, it's a farce, it's a romp, keep at it, unclench yourself, uncross your arms right now, and just watch it and let it happen. Yeah. And I do have this, like, version of it, especially now with what we were talking about earlier about Dustin Hoffman, is the fact there's this part where Julie says, thank you so much. Julie starts massaging her scenes to where she says, I'm not going to put up with this this thing, because in the original storylines, you've got Dorothy, who is telling a woman who was beaten by her husband, go into therapy and try to work it out. Yeah. Where he just kind of goes
like
off.
It's her.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but he just goes off and says, you go back to that home, and if he tries to do anything, and he throws a potted plant and throws it out the window, and it's very intense. And then there's these other versions of it where he's just changing it because he's experiencing what it's like for women to have to be like, no, your fault. Come on, honey. Come on, sweetie.
Or just he's seeing these things that, like, and I think it's good because they set him up as someone who doesn't, like, his agent basically says, you will never work in this town.
Yes.
So it's not even like you can't
or
even...
other towns.
Or other towns.
Yeah.
Because you make this big deal about like, he always is kind of seeing the absurdity. Like, it's always kind of got to be his way. Yeah. And he thinks, and he sort of is like, oh, I'm not going to do that this time. But then he notices, like, actually, as a woman, it kind of is working better.
Yes.
Like, this is the first time that his sort of thinking on his feet, because he basically gets the audition. Because
immediately he walks in and he gets instead of just getting the whole, the rejection he got before, too tall, too short, not quite right, not what we're looking for. He immediately is looked at and is said, that. But I think it's because
we want a different type.
We want a different type. And the fact that he was completely masked and it didn't even make a difference, he was able to just go off.
And also the producer, it's funny, the producer is the one who calls him and then kind of works it. Like, she's like,
oh yeah,
I want that. Like, she's like, I want this. I want to see this.
And she also managed to massage.
Yeah, she's like, she's
the director.
Exactly. So she's seeing this, and I think in a way for him, like, he is starting to have empathy for someone else. Like, obviously he's an actor and he's supposed to inhabit another role, and realizing kind of he's literally seeing it from that other perspective, and he can kind of only do that through acting, right? Like, he can't see what he's doing to women, like, because he is kind of womanizing even before that, not even with Julie, but just like you see him at that party. He's constantly like, hey, he's got all these lines, and they don't work, clearly. Like, none of them are working. Sure. Like, but and it's only like when he's seeing Dabney Coleman do the same thing, and he's like, oh wait, that guy also didn't. He says,
you got to see this from my perspective. Yeah,
he's like, well, she just gets so upset when I bring it up, when I bring up other women, so I just don't tell her because it's nicer. And
we never said we were exclusive.
Yeah. And he's like, these are literally the lines that he's been using with Bill Murray. Yeah. With the, not Bill Murray, the Jeff, who's played by Bill Murray.
Yeah.
About
Sandy.
Which like,
is so frustrating.
Yeah, and oh my God, poor Sandy. But then, and at one point, Sandy is like, no, listen to me. I don't want to be lied to. Mm-hmm. I know I'm going to be hurt. Mm-hmm. I know that this is how it's going to go.
Yeah.
It's the being lied to that's the part that is making me crazy, but he doesn't hear it because it's kind of too in his head. So that's
and also I do give her credit because he does give her the truth. That doesn't stop her from having a horrible reaction. She said, I never said that I was going to be okay with it.
That was a great thing. It was so perfect. Yeah, and exactly. I didn't, rewatching it, and it's funny, like, when, so I saw this with my husband last night, and then we're talking about it, and he's like, yeah, I mean, I saw it when it first came out, and he's a little older than me, so he's like, I think and I'd seen it multiple times as well, but he's like, I always kind of didn't really appreciate, kind of, that there was more of a conversation going on with it.
Yeah.
Then he's like, I kind of thought, oh, this is a slapstick of...
A little bit.
It's a slapstick
comedy of errors.
Yeah, comedy of errors kind of thing.
There are a few things that still made me laugh really hard.
Oh my God, yes.
Just a taxi,
yeah.
taxi!
Yeah. Oh, and one point he's babysitting.
Oh, that just always makes me feel bad about people who can't get a baby to stop crying.
Oh, yeah, and he like keeps going back and forth with the voices.
Yeah.
And at one point... Yeah, and then she comes home and he's like, oh, she was a darling angel. Because you just don't want to admit, like, it's, you failed, even though, of course, many people failed stuff. Like,
right.
Yeah. And also, but he kind of, like, so it was supposed to be temporary.
Yes, this was supposed to be a small term role
2
because
weeks.
the role of the head administrator, I suppose, was away doing a play which is why Michael decided to audition for this thing, because he was pissed off that the lead of this soap opera was getting a role that he said that he would be up for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he and then he got mad because it's like, oh, it's a name, you know, because they were like, oh, they wanted a name.
Oh, I need to jump back really quick. The whole thing about Dorothy showing the other women how to stand up for themselves and create this character and this turn and stuff like that. The hardest part of that was when Julie was saying, thank you so much, just watching you be this strong and independent person. And he's trying to backtrack because it's just like, you know, it's so complicated. Please don't thank me for this.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to get caught in this lie. But it's just one step beyond. It's just like, you watch your role models or your mentors, you know, be this amazing guide for you, and then you watch them do something that just completely disappoints you. It's just like, you're right, you should not idolize people.
No.
And I do like that.
No, but it's easier to have, you know, kind of a, like, I think that's the one thing is sort of you see, oh, wait, this is, I'm starting to see a way I can do this.
Sure. Well, also, you will see somebody, you know, step on it, you watch them, they don't die, or there's not a landmine there.
Yeah, like you just thought, there's not a landmine there. And I think one of the things that's so actually, like, for me is it becomes frustrating to watch him, like, and he is really anxious because he's like, oh my God, I can't believe I can't get out of this.
Sure.
Because at one point they pick it up.
Yeah.
And she's like, For a year. And she's like, wait, I can't keep this up. I can't answer my own phone because he's like,
oh my God, the part where he's just like, I can't answer my phone. And then Jeff is saying, well, why don't I answer it? Well, Dorothy's not that kind of girl. And it's just like, okay, you're just, no. For a couple of reasons, no.
Yeah, no. And it's just like, because at first he's so high on this idea, he doesn't understand the complications, and now he is. And the thing is, he becomes what's kind of weird for me is, like, basically, so Jessica Lange loses her mother pretty early on, it looks like. And not Jessica Lange. It's funny, we're having this whole conversation about, like,
Julie
being separate. Yeah. Julie is like, she loses her mom early on, and you can really tell that basically she sees her as a mother figure. Dorothy is a mother figure.
Right.
And to the point where she's kind of trying to push her, and her father kind of falls in or develops a crush on her.
Yeah.
And
that was one of the hard parts.
It was really hard to watch.
Well, a lot of it was really hard to watch because Julie looked at her as a mother figure, but then also was slowly trying to tell her that she felt something. She did tell her that she loved her, but at the same time, she was very she said she didn't want to lead her on.
That made sense to me because I think she's like, oh, I thought this relation. So this is how I interpreted that.
Well, she also said, I'm sorry, because Dorothy goes in to try to kiss her because they're having a moment.
Yeah.
And then she said, I'm sorry, I guess did she say I'm just not progressive enough or something?
Yeah.
So
like she kind of feels bad, like, well, if I'm close to her.
Yeah.
I think
But it's like she was, like, kind of pushing with the idea, even though she considers herself, I imagine, to be heterosexual.
I guess I saw it a little differently, which is sort of that, like...
This is what I want to hear, yeah.
And this, I don't know, this sort of doesn't maybe drive with the rest of the movie, but the way I saw that was basically that she was super, they had become very close very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And she did see her as a mother figure, and the thing with her father. Mm-hmm. But basically she's in a position where this person who, you know, having her in her life, so for Julie to have Dorothy in her life, suddenly is this huge boon, and she opens up to her and is and trusts her, and, like, shows her things that she wouldn't, you know, a side of herself and sort of a relaxed part of herself that she wouldn't do otherwise. And so to realize, like, oh wait, this person wants something that I don't think I can give them.
I think so. Okay.
You know, I think it was more like feeling kind of weird about that like, oh God, it's, you know, this, I define this like you think you're in one relationship.
Yeah.
But actually all this time you've been in a different relationship, that this person has a different relationship in their heads. She doesn't, and for her, at the time, all she knows is Dorothy is a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about some really crappy friend zone joke that's not happening. Yeah.
But I don't know. So I get like that. I found that was like, and the whole thing with her dad, she's like, oh okay, my God, this was all going to work. Like, and
she could actually become her mom, literally.
Yeah, literally. And then her father won't be alone. And like, and it's good for a father to have somebody who's more like progressive, because her father kind of gives this speech.
No, men are men, women are women.
Which also is kind of a genius move on the writer's part, because it's basically then it's not purely that you're watching, like, you're like, oh my God, he's going to have his heart broken. You're like, this is never going to work between the two of them, even if Dorothy was a woman.
Yeah.
Like, it was never, ever going to work, even if circumstances were different, because that's not Dorothy's thing.
Yeah. And also, you know, she lives here, he's over there, and different
so it makes it a little easier to watch, because you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And then so of course he does a big reveal and blows everything up on television when they do a live set.
I honestly think it's a great reveal.
Yeah.
The way he manages to get out of it.
And the fact that he kind of messes it up is also great.
Because he's not an improv actor. He's a character actor.
Yeah.
So I recommend you see it. I mean, just for that scene, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Soap Dish? It comes up when I was searching. Yeah. I'm just like, oh, I really like that movie too, but it's because it's
making fun of.
It's a lot worse.
And they make fun of. I mean, they're making fun of kind of the structure of soaps and the acting, like the doctor.
Oh, geez.
The doctor was played by Charles Durning. He's like...
No, Charles Durning is the...
Oh my God, he's the father. It's George Gaynes. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
George Gaynes. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Charles Durning is the father. That was great. And, but he constantly looks at the camera, but he's really he looks like he never looks at the actor. And Dustin Hoffman is such a, like, perpetual
method
director.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's like... perpetually sort of coaching his fellow actors. Yeah. Like, that's clearly his passion. And he goes...
But he's also irritated.
Yes. And you
look at me when
I'm talking to you. Like, it's so great because he never learns his lines.
Yeah.
It's
very Brando of him.
Very Brando. So hey,
there's a sex symbol.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not the way.
No.
I know him, but
yeah,
back
exactly.
in the day.
Back in the day, not in 1982 either. So I think he was already. Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway,
no.
Brando.
Yeah.
On the waterfront.
Yeah. So here's my question for you.
Yes.
This movie.
Yes.
When did they fall in love?
So I think for him, I do actually think it's. I kind of think it is. I'm going to say it actually is love at first sight, but then I think it's actually seeing her with her daughter.
Which time?
The first time.
The first time.
Time comes over. We sees her like in her house, and she's wearing sweatpants, which she also looks amazing in because she's Jessica Lange. And she, it's there's a lot of the play in a way of this movie is sort of about how. How like women let him into their world and the things that they're comfortable in, like things that they've kind of kept away from him, like Geena Davis.
Oh yeah.
He ends up sharing this room with Geena Davis, and it really I think it's the first time he's like, oh my God, this is real, because Geena Davis, she's sharing to her, it's like, here's another actress and I'm sharing a dressing room with her.
Yeah.
So she does all these like calisthenics in her underwear, which is like really normal. And probably if you're sharing a dressing room with a guy, would do something similar. And so
push-ups.
push-ups or whatever. But like, and he's like, oh, wait. Like, I should not be seeing this. Not like, he's not like, oh, delightful.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. This is a great bonus.
Well, he also knows that he's putting up
that she'll be really mad when she finds out.
He's lying to her, so he's trying not to take advantage of the lie.
Exactly. Which is kind of...
It's like, no, I just want to be an actor.
Yeah.
I don't want to be staring at this beautiful woman who happens to have her guard down because she thinks I'm female.
So he's like self-aware enough for that.
Which is helpful.
Yeah, I think like he...
Good for you, by the way.
What?
Because I was thinking, there was a bunch of musical number type sting montage moments where
I was going to say I wrote down some montages. There was an audition montage. There was a doing your makeup montage.
For me, it was the whole like they're at the country home and there's this dinner.
It's a farm.
And the farm.
Yes, there's a pleasant holiday montage.
Yeah, and that's when you're supposed to listen to the music and thinking, this is when it's happening, and you didn't fall for it.
There's also a running to yell at someone through the streets of New York City montage.
I don't know if that was a montage so much as just music was happening.
Go Tootsie go. Yeah, so I really think there is a certain amount of him, because this is, like, he does seem to treat women before as being, he doesn't think anything of the fact that he's really just kind of treating women, like, he's sort of looking at women as the other.
Yep.
It's actually only through his acting is sort of the only time he can really be empathetic and see them as, like...
peers.
Yeah, peers. And somebody who, like, is also trying to function, is trying to get through the world, because he's obviously not hearing Sandy when she's like, just don't lie to me.
Yeah.
He's like, so I think in a way, I do think there's a love at first sight thing, because I think in the movie you're supposed to see his feelings for Julie as being very different than the way he treats other women.
Right.
And that's why he's mad at
but the weird thing is
Ron, like the Dabney Coleman character.
And the weird thing is he tries it, and this is when I'll chime in with mine.
Yeah.
He is at a party with Sandy, and Julie happens to be there. And in a very, very nice conversation between Dorothy and Julie, she reveals, why can't guys just, cut through all the crap and just say this? And then he goes and he says the exact same things to her, but as Michael, and she immediately throws a drink in his face. So he had,
because she's like, it's all the games.
Yeah.
And she says, games. I just wish some man would just say, look, I find you very interesting, and I just want to make love to you, or something to that effect.
Right.
That's not a direct quote. And then he does try that.
Which,
as
if
Michael.
anything, if I were Julie, I'd just be like, Dorothy, did you say something to somebody?
Yeah.
Because it's exactly what happened. But then again, it's very possible she's approached all the time, so it's probably not the first time she's heard that.
And it's funny, and the kind of catty thing is he's actually there with her.
With Sandy.
With Sandy.
So I'm going to chime in and say...
When do you think? So
that's when he fell in love with her. When she threw her drink in his face.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, he's still learning, but I think that was the turning moment for him, because she opened herself up so much to her. No. Julie opened herself so much to Dorothy that all of this is hair, but just because you have this connection with somebody here, he's just this guy walking on the outside. Just because he knows the quote-unquote perfect thing to say to her, and she just doesn't buy it, he realizes this is a very complex and wonderful person.
Oh, that is really interesting.
This isn't just about something about throwing a line that I heard would work.
Yeah, like she's...
Next step, next level. Connect on a way that's beyond.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, for Julie, this is difficult because I'm not... I know that the ending is supposed to sort of be like you lived happily ever after, but it's very abrupt, first off.
Does not help.
Which does not help. But so I'm just trying to figure out if she does fall in love. But I do feel like it's clear that she has not been able to be this close to another person. So maybe she does kind of fall in love with, I think it's like, I think it's when she, when they go to the farm, and she she tells her the story of her mom,
Right.
and she just Michael as Dorothy just reaches out and just kind of like caresses her hair, which is that very puffy 80s hair.
Right.
And he, and I think it's just at that moment, she's like, hey, this is nice. Like, we have a real connection.
Sure.
But again, it's just odd because essentially there's like a lie at the base of their relationship.
A lot of rom-coms
have that, and you kind of have to. Yeah. There's a certain amount of specific, like, okay, well, we lied throughout the past, like, however long we've known each other. Now it's like,
you never told me you were a prince. That's not as complicated as.
There's like, I let you in and let you see everything, and
not gonna lie, I really do like those movies.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Yeah.
But it's which you can easily. I mean, this movie you can just watch as. But I think it's harder watching it now as just a romp because it does all like, whoa, this stuff is too real. I've been thinking about this stuff too much.
Yeah.
And how it happens. And I think this movie at the time, and the reviews kind of talk about this a bit too.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
If I may.
Yeah, let's go back to.
No, I'm going.
When do you think she falls in love?
Well, she didn't. Not in this movie.
Yeah.
Not in this movie. I will say that wholeheartedly because.
I'm probably more on your side, but I.
Yeah, and I'll just say it, just flat out. I don't think it happens in this visual storytelling that we see there. And I'll take it one step further as we segue into the second half of it. I don't think it's going to happen for them because there will always be the base of this connection with this person who did exist but didn't exist, and there's just a complication that even though he's trying to change his person, there's always just going to be this, like, I know he goes to see the father and apologizes and he's a great guy. I mean he's not a great guy, and he's trying to become a better guy, and that's
I think
nice.
He's trying to become a better guy,
and that's really nice. But I think at the
and he says I was a
better man as a woman. I don't remember the
which is it's just like straight. I mean, I get what they were trying to say, but it's an odd.
I don't think that them trying to be together. I can see it, but she's gonna mourn the loss of this person in her life, and him claiming that he is that person. It's not the case because, oh God, I just realized that I could very easily be offending people in a gender identity community. So, damn it.
Well, I mean, there's the person that she got close to and the reasons that she got, like, that's why it's complicated for me, because they didn't just get to be close as like
on a romantic level,
as like peers and friends.
Okay.
There's, to me, the complication is that she saw her as as kind of a mother figure,
sure,
aunt, like sort of thing. And like, for example, there's that, I've only actually watched the first season, but I enjoyed it. There's that show Younger,
okay,
which is it's basically about a woman who it's about a woman who pretends to be 27 to get a job because she can't get one at 40. She just looks really young.
Oh, okay.
And it's Sutton Foster. It's actually really fun. But I didn't see but at one point, there's this thing where she becomes really, really close. She has like a work sister.
Okay.
And they become super close, and they, watch out for each other and all that. And I feel like, okay, at some point, if like when the truth is revealed, like, both of them are going to be her boyfriend and also is going to be hurt, but the lie is not based in something so like their relationship about being equals and partnership, and kind of equals and trying to like deal with their boss and trying to get ahead. That is not going. That's not materially going to change, and neither really will the relationship with the boyfriend, even that the most material thing to that is that they lied. But this is that she lied to him and he thought they were intimate. They can get like that is something you can almost get over, but it's like I don't switching from having this mother figure to having this lover. I think it's just that's too difficult for me in my head.
That's to me that's a bridge too far, and
it's a bridge too far.
Not necessarily the whole relationship, because I love you, Dorothy. That was, I love you. You are this person in my life, but you flip a switch to a romantic scenario. It's too complicated, I think, in this scenario, and that's why I think the relationship is not going to work. And in addition to that, how
do you think they're gonna how do you think it's gonna unfold?
But I also stand. She's also going to be mourning the fact that she lost her mother figure, her probably best friend and confidant there.
And I think you're supposed to imagine that they're going to still be best. Like this is the difference is that they're still going to be best friends. I think that's where that whole thing of them walking down the street really casually joking about the whole thing is meant to be that they aren't they never kiss. This is the thing. They except for when she tries to kiss her as Dorothy.
I don't think they made it though.
Yeah. There's in the end when they're walking, they just are walking down the street as friends.
Is this another weird metaphor for this weird sexual tension that one thinks exists and the other doesn't, and therefore
probably. It's I mean, it kind of talks about that, I think, but
no, I mean just in that scene of the kissing or not.
I don't know.
It's deeper than the script intended.
I mean, and maybe, I mean, I think when I walked into that movie, I thought, oh, this is great. They're going to be best friends now, and they're going to be best friends and lovers. Everybody wants that. But
that's what they want. I just don't think it's going to happen.
But I don't know.
Personally, that is my...
Because it's hard to get over. They've been lying to you for that long. And
well, it's also you can get rid of the lie, but you're also starting, not even from scratch with this relationship, you're actually starting from a negative. Because now you have to undo the lie.
The other thing is that he still is an unsuccessful actor, and she's a successful actress on a soap, which he's not gonna respect. That's what I worry about. I think he is going to be bigger. I do think that he's going to be, he's going to become bitter. That's my theory.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
So you think he's going to break it off with her because he doesn't respect her work?
No, I think she's going to break it off with him. I think there's going to be a bit like that because at some point she's probably going to be, helping him out and maybe bankrolling.
I can see that.
But at one point he also falls in love with her little girl.
I don't know if
because there was she got handed, he got handed, and it's just at first it was what the heck? Yeah. And then just smelling the baby and seeing the baby.
I don't think that's as material.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, the baby was a plot point.
Because it was they have a nice, when they would go to the farm, they have a nice life.
They do.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of with you.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think I give it 9 months.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I give it a year maybe. But I just don't think... I think it's too difficult. You have to explain everything. He's still going to be an unsuccessful actor.
And even if he does get better or anything like that.
And I think he will. I actually think he does.
Well, I think he's going to learn to play ball more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, there it is.
That was the movie.
Whew, that was a hard one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot there.
A couple levels.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So.
Yeah. But I do you think, just wrapping up, you should, this is definitely a movie worth seeing. It still holds up.
You really need to figure it out. Ryan didn't know anything about this movie except the name, and he didn't know anything about drag, and I'm like, well, Dustin Hoffman pretends to be a woman to get it. He's like, what? I'm like,
It makes sense in the movie.
Yeah, so. All right, please. We had a lot going on in this episode, and we would love to hear what you have to
I'm sure you have lots of thoughts.
Sex symbols, art versus artist, all of the above.
Anything.
Okay.
Anything you want to talk about. If you want to talk about our clothes or anything.
Sure. All right. So we mentioned before, you can catch us on Twitter at HEAMCast.
HEAMCAST.
And we're on Facebook at Happily Ever Aftermath. You can email us, contact@HEAMCast.com. If you like us, please tell a friend. And you can
and subscribe and leave a
review or rate us
reviews
on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find the podcast. We would love you to help us out that way.
Yeah.
We're on Spotify, YouTube, if anyone is, worried about how to find us, but they, we're fine. You can find us on a bunch of different platforms.
Yeah, and we try to get all the podcatchers.
Yeah, and you can also check out some really great podcasts if you search on all the platforms, #LadyPodSquad.
Great podcast. It's always fun to dip in there. There's some great...
all the topics you can think of.
There's free podcasts with whatever you're interested in.
All right, and for those waiting with bated breath, we're going to talk about...
What?
Oh, calm down. You already know. We're gonna talk about The Wedding Singer.
Oh.
Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore's first collaboration.
Yep.
Yeah, don't accidentally watch The Wedding Planner or The Wedding Date.
Yes. The Wedding Singer.
Or The Prince and Me, or The Christmas Prince.
Yeah, or Something Singer, or The Christmas Singer.
Again.
Yeah, don't watch Purple Rain again.
With Prince.
Yeah.
All right.
Or if you do fast forward through everything that isn't music.
Or go ahead and just, listen to our episode again about it.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that.
Yeah. So thanks again for joining us. And until then.
See you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm Elisa Lucas from Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits. I'd like to start a movement where we spend more time loving on our friends because although friends are important to us, they're often in the shadow of other relationships. So if you want to love on your friendships a little bit more, embrace friendship a little bit more, or just appreciate your friendships a little bit more, then this podcast is for you. We'll explore all the different ways friendships take place, share the amazing stories of friendship, and discuss best practices for the difficulties that friends may experience. It's time to embrace friendships because without our friends, who would we be? So check out Best Forevers on iTunes, Stitcher, and all the other podcasting listening venues. And be sure to follow Best Forevers Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.